personally experienced. Can I come down from the pulpit? I don't like standing on the pulpit. So let me come down so that I can be closer to you. I'm too far away. Now, one of the things I learned as during my undergraduate days, I did a course in school in Ife then under the sociology of marriage. And certain factors were taught to us at that time as to fundamental variables that make marriage work. One of them is financial collaboration and independence. Meaning that couple, first, before they marry, each of them must be financially independent. And they must have a way of collaborating. I'll just summarize what I read then in that book. That it was one book by an American author. And he mentioned about 5 variables that are important in marriage, in couple selection. One is emotional maturity, saying that each person, both the male and the female, must be emotionally mature before you can actually talk about marriage. That if you are not emotionally mature, you should not even go into marriage at all. Because if anything happens and the man rushes to mommy, or the lady rushes to daddy to go and tell daddy, when the matters in the marriage is resolved, daddy and mommy will not forget. So you must be emotionally mature before you go into marriage. In actual fact, I read this maybe 30-something years ago. But when I reflected back, about 10 years ago, one of my staff was having a problem with her husband, and she came to report to me what the husband was doing to her. 6 or 7 months after, they finished resolving their issues. But up to today, when I see that boy, I still remember all the things the lady told me about her husband. They have resolved the matter. Matter has been resolved. But up to today, see this wicked man, see what he did. So, emotional maturity was number 1. 2, social compatibility. Couples must be socially compatible. If one is a party goer, one is a sit-at-home person, it won't work. So they must have some level of social compatibility. 3 is intellectual compatibility. If you are very smart, don't marry a dullard. Marry somebody whose level of intelligence is close to yours. Otherwise, you start irritating yourself. Or if the man says or the woman says A, and you are A, B, C, D, and you are still at A, trying to understand A, there will be issues. So intellectual compatibility is there. Then we have spiritual compatibility. That is, you must marry somebody of similar faith. If you're a Christian, don't marry somebody who is far away from Christianity. Even it's advised that you must marry somebody within your denomination or sect, because level of disagreement will be minimal because you are together. So, apart from all this, one they said most was the financial compatibility. You must be financially compatible, and you must have financial independence before you get married. Very important. I will now tell you my personal experience. I grew up in the village. I grew up somewhere in Osun State, in a city called Iloko Ijesha. Some of you might know that city. One of the best cities in the world, in Osun State. And I grew up from a very humble background. My father was a primary school teacher, so we didn't have a lot of money. So we had to use farming to augment my parents' salary. So when I was in school, I was working very hard. In actual fact, in Ife, I was doing 4 different jobs as an undergraduate to sustain and to keep myself together. Now graduating, coming to Lagos and starting work in Lagos. You could imagine my background, where I came from. We manage things, we conserve things, we plan things before we do. And I got married to a lady who is a Lagosian proper, from a very good background. Parents were okay, they had money, they had everything. She went to QC, went to Unilag, I went to one local school, and I was fortunate to go to Ife. So you could see the difference between us. So I saw that, this woman, if I don't plan well, I don't structure well. Let me also go back a bit. In my village in Osun State, in Ijeshaland generally, they are always very scared to see their son marrying somebody from Ijebu, from Egba, from Lagos. Because they believe that the moment you marry them, you won't come back home again. That you'll be lost in Lagos. That was what we believe. I don't know if any of you have heard about that belief from our side. In actual fact, when I was going to leave the village to come to Lagos, the oldest man in my family called me. My father first told me that, that is, don't marry Jebu, don't marry Egba. So going to Lagos, just make sure you stay within the lane. And I said, Dad, what's all this? I don't believe in all this. So he went and reported me to the eldest man in our family. So that when I said I should come. So very early in the morning, my father took me to him and repeated the same thing. Years after, I was going to marry this lady. She's an Ijebu woman. That's number one. Number two, she's a Lagosian proper, born and bred in Lagos. Number three, she's a lawyer. So I started thinking, and I saw that truly, truly, she was totally different from me, but I love her. And I believe that she was a dream that God has made for me. So the first thing I did, again, because she went to QC, and you know, in some of these schools, their ages are always the same. They were all getting married around the same time. And then when they want to get married, they have to buy shoe, bag, and hat. That was what was reading at that time. So in a class of, say, 40, in a month, for instance, 3 of them might get married. Different shoe, different bag, and different hat. I noticed we got married then. We're still friends. Every month, 4 bags, 4 shoes, 4 hats. We can't live life this way. Compared to me that everything has to be planned and structured. Not that every month. And you know those shoes and bag and hats, after that event, it is gone. So I started thinking, and I was praying to God, God, give me a way. Let me have a way through which I can manage this lady I'm going to get married to. Eventually, we got married. And the first thing I did, the first weekend of the marriage, I told her, let us go for a family retreat. She said, what do I mean? I said, let's go and have a retreat. So we left Lagos. I went to Abeokuta. While packing, I was packing flip chart, marker. I was putting that at the back of the car. She was wondering, what are we packing flip charts and marker and co for? I said, don't worry. When we get there, you will see what we will do. Because what my wife thought was that let's just go and enjoy ourselves, have fun, honeymoon, and come back. So when we got to Abeokuta, we went round the hotel, played. Then in the evening, when we go back to the room, I said, okay, I brought out the flip chart. And I sat her down. I said, what are we doing? I said, let's just plan. So I pasted the flip chart on the wall of the room. And I asked her, where do you want us to be in the next 5 to 10 years? She said, hey, okay. Started telling me nice things, big things. Then we're living in Ikorodu because I built my house in Ikorodu at the age of like 25 or 26. And before I got married, I was already my own landlord. So I said, okay, the first thing she said, she wants to live in Ikoyi. I said, fantastic. What again? She wants this, she wants that. So I listed everything my wife wanted. Nice, good things. So about 15 items were listed on that Friday night as where we need to be in the next 5 to 10 years. Wonderful, beautiful things. So we now divide. When we woke up on Saturday morning, we had breakfast. We came back. I said, okay, let's break them down into buckets. Yourself, myself, the family, etc. We broke everything down and we wrote them on different flip charts. Then we went around the hotel again, came back. After lunch, we sat and we said, let's go back to our room. We got to the room and said, okay, where are we today on all these matters? So we listed where we were. Here, we're living in Ikorodu. You want to go to Ikoyi? We have only one official car. Because I was a manager in GT Bank then. You want to have this type of... So everything she listed, we wrote where we were versus where she wanted us to be. So in the night, and I said, okay, how do we bridge the gap? All these wonderful things you want us to have, and where we are today, how do we bridge the gap? So we started thinking. As we were suggesting, we were writing. By the time we left Gateway on Sunday night, it was clear to us how we have to make the move to get to where we want to get to. Without arguments, without anything, there was a behavior modification that took place from that retreat that we had. No argument about money, no argument about things. Because we both agreed, this is what we need to do. This is what we need to do. You need to do this. I need to do this. And we started. That sets the foundation. And between you and I and God, everything we plan to do in 10 years, we did in 3 years. No magic, no money stolen, no deals. We remain very focused. We remain very determined. but we worked as a team. You cannot clap with one hand, and a tree does not make a forest. That is why when Mr. Martin gave me this topic, I said, well, nice topic. I'm going to be talking to you today, and that's why I'm excited to be here, because I am a personal example of how budgeting as a team can work. No man or no woman can do it alone. You must work as a team to achieve this objective. So, next slide. Let me now. That's just the foundation to see how working as a team can achieve the objectives in the family. Now, my outline is as follows. I won't talk much about item 1 and 2 because my mommy that presented earlier has talked about them. What is a family? Why family is important in God's plan. I won't bother much about that. She has covered that. Let's go to what is a budget. Sometimes when we talk about budget, it's always misinterpreted by people. Sometimes when you look at the family dynamics, in some family, the woman is one that is very strong as far as finances are concerned, while in some, it's the man that is very strong. Depending on where you stand, you must realize the fact that you have to work with your partner to achieve the objectives of the family. You cannot do it alone. You must understand the financial position or the level of financial literacy or education of your partner and their attitude to money. Attitude to money and expenditure is very critical. You must know where your partner stands. Okay, I said budget is very important because it helps to set goals and objectives to be achieved. Like I told you my example, we said where we want to go. We want to live in Ikoyi. We want to have this. We want to send kids to school abroad. That's one of the things my wife said, that she wanted to send her kids to school abroad. She wanted to live abroad. I said, okay, no problems. All these nice things. We stated everything. Helps to determine long-term goals. What do I want to achieve in a long-term basis? Helps you to put on a path through which those things can be achieved. Like I explained to you, we wanted to be here. We are here. How do we close the gap between where we are right now and where we're going to be, where we want to be in the next 10 years? And helps to live within your means. Very important. Let me also tell you an example there. I'll also tell my personal example so that you can see. When I graduated from IFE in 1990, I made the first class and I did very well. My GPA was 4.98 out of 5. I had almost A's all throughout my courses. So the university retained me to lecture in IFE and I started lecturing. My salary then was about 800 naira per month, which was a lot of money for a young boy who just left school in 1991. Then I left academics. I got a job in a firm of accountants called Arthur Anderson in Lagos. And they were paying me 4,000 per month. You can imagine from 800 to 4,000. It was a lot of money. I was a big boy, earning so much money at a very young age. In actual fact, when I started working, my salary was more than my father and my mother's salary, who were both teachers in Osun State, together. So you can imagine how big I was. And in Yoruba land, they said the money that a young boy makes, he used to eat akara. Very correct. So I would collect my salary in Lagos. I had friends who were still doing masters in Ife. I would travel to Ife, go and live a big boy's life. They would tell me, Demo is coming. Demo is on his way. Demo has, I'll go to PG Hall, go to Moremi Hall, I'll blow the money. Spending like as if money was going to me, that I was from a background where I didn't have money before. I knew where I was coming from, but the money was just too much for a young boy. So after 5 months, our managing partner then, a guy called D. Kramer, gave us a book, The Richest Man in Babylon. I don't know if any of you had read that book. After reading that book, I looked at my life. I said, how come have I lost my bearing in only 6 months? 6 months of working, I've lost my bearing. I could not tell where my salary went. You can imagine 800 to 4,000, and I could not tell where the difference went. Even when I was earning 800, I was saving. And I came to Lagos, and I was earning more than, and again, in addition, I was living with a family, so I wasn't paying rent, but I could not see the money. So when I read that book, the book changed my life. Because I saw that if you are not intentional about money, you will never be able to accumulate money. You will never be. So you must be intentional in your expenditure profile. Otherwise, it will come easy, and you will go easy. Especially as a young person. So, I started doing something. I went and bought a 2D. And on a daily basis, I was recording my expenses. You will not believe it, sir. In 3 months, I had much more than I'd ever had all my life. In 3 months. Because I now started monitoring where my money was going into. Before then, I had problem even paying tithe. Because the money is always just going. When I sat down, so like I said, budget helps you to live within your means. I started cutting. Now, I now did a pie chart. And I look at the pie chart and saw the percentage that was going, where the money was going. And I saw that, well, all my money was going into P&L items, no balance sheet items. That is, it's just consumption. And that helped me. So, budgeting helps you to live within your means. Because you would see what you have to do and helps put me on a path through which I achieve success. In 6 months thereafter, which was like a year after I started working, I built my first house in my village, which was a major feat. I was just 21, 22 years old. But because I did a 360 degrees and I turned around and stopped cutting, I always tell people, little drops of water eventually becomes a mighty ocean. I'll give you a simple example. If in your room or your bathroom, your tap is leaking and is dropping, water is dropping, if you don't put a bucket there, you will not develop more water that has flown away. But if you put a bucket, by the time you come back in the evening, that bucket will be full. So that little drops accumulate eventually. But you won't know. And that's how money goes away. But that little things that you control helps you at the end of the day. Helps to plan for the purchase of our main assets. You want to do any major investment, if you don't plan for it, don't budget for it, you will never be able to do it. And ensure you don't spend money that you don't have. I have some friends, when I started my career in Arthur Andersen, if you know what Arthur Andersen is, it's a firm that recruits very intelligent people. When I joined Arthur Andersen, 42 of us joined. I think 40 of us had a first class. Brilliant guys from various backgrounds. At that time, everybody had this dream. But if you don't know where you are going, the probability of following everybody everywhere is much higher. But sitting back to think about it, to think about myself and how I was going, a total change happened in my life. Then they will come to us in the office. Ties that they will sell at the back of Mandilas in Lagos for 300 naira, they come and sell to us as 1,000. We'll buy. We're just living our life as if, and again, as young men who was earning so much money, it was just going away. Now, helps to address bad spending habits. If you don't have a plan, like I said, the money will go anyhow. Money is just like a spirit that flies. So most young people, most couples, most people generally have very bad spending habits. And if you don't plan it, the probability that money will go away like that is much high, very high. Have you seen a situation where people work for 40, 50 years and they cannot tell what they've done for that 40, 50 years? I had an experience. One of my professors in Ife, very renowned professor, his wife was also a professor. They worked till they were 65 at that time. That was retirement age. And when they retire, they couldn't leave the staff quarters. So the university had to come and eject them. And when they were ejected, it was his secretary that gave him accommodation in town. His secretary that used to give change when he travels for World Bank, United Nations meeting, and he comes and give the guy change. The guy built a house, beautiful house, and accommodated his prof. Because the prof just did not see. He was just living. Unfortunately, if you are familiar with Ife campus, the quarter side where professors live, beautiful, nice lawn, nice trees, nice, everything was good. But because he didn't see it. That secretary was one that helped him. And he and his wife were both professors, living the way they wanted to live. So I'm saying you can live the whole of your life working for 30 years and not have anything to show for it if you are not, if you're not intentional about it, which is why budgeting as a family is very important. Helps to be prepared for emergencies. There will always be emergencies in life because you cannot predict everything. Things will happen outside what you have planned for. It helps to prepare for emergency and ensures you are happy in retirement. That prof I gave you as an example, he was very unhappy in retirement. At that time, there was no reform pension scheme that we have now where you are paying money to a PFA who will make sure they get paid. You still depend then under the pay as you go of the whole regime. You may not even get your pension default in 2-3 years. This prof was very sad. I think I was in year 2 when this prof retired. This secretary helped him before his children. Unfortunately for him also, all his children were abroad. Before they now bundle both of them out of the country to the US, which is where the man lived before he died. His wife also died, and they were all buried in the US. Because they never had anything to say it was their own in Nigeria. So like I was saying there, it's very important, helps you to focus and to determine where you're going. Okay, fundamentals of family budget. 1, God first. In everything you do, you must always seek the face and the support of God. That story I told you about me and my wife when we got married, I've been praying and fasting about it. That God touched the heart of my wife. For over 2 weeks, I was praying, I was fasting, quietly. Say, God, let this woman, because I realized the fact that if she doesn't go with me, it will be a failure. So for like 2 weeks, I was praying to God, touch the heart of this woman. Let her see reason with me. And like I said, our background is different. So from that background difference, for her to move from my side to my side, I said, God, teach me, grant me the wisdom with which I will be able to effectively communicate and convince my wife to go with me on this journey. God first, very important. Number 2, trust. Nobody will trust you if you don't actually trust yourself to do things well. Most marriages today, there's lack of trust. Because couples don't, elicit, they don't exhibit sufficient financial discipline, which makes it very impossible for either the wife to trust the husband or the husband to trust the wife. In my scenario, because we sat together and planned, let me also say one of the details of the plan. We said, this is how much we're going to be spending on food per month. And we allocated that money to food. You know what my wife did? She now started saving out of that food money. And I told her, anything you save, use to buy shares. I was a chartered stockbroker. I was running a stockbroking outfit then. You know the number of shares my wife bought from saving out of that food money. Today when she gets dividend, she said, my husband, thank you so much. This is where she has been able to buy lots and lots of shares through savings, which, ordinarily, that savings will not have arisen. She now came up with ideas. Because I'm not saying give me the money you've saved. Use it to buy shares. You buy anything for yourself. But don't buy clothes. Don't buy shoes. Don't buy all those things. She was now regulating her expenses. Calculating, which she would not have done ordinarily. Which was why planning together, budgeting together as a family plays a lot of role. And she trusted me. She knew, I wasn't frivolous. I wasn't reckless. I've talked about financial planning commitment. We planned together. We sat together. We were committed together. We agreed as one. And that helped us. Transparency. Again, you see at that time, I was on mobile phone when we got married. Mobile phone came in 2001 or so. We got married in 2000. So that wasn't all those things then. Yeah. So we could see, she saw that I was honest. I was transparent. I meant what I said. And then she was able to support me. Humility. Very important. You see, God loves the humble and he hates the arrogant. Whoever is making the money in the family needs to be humble. Because if you want people to come with you, your wife to come with you, or your husband to come with you, again, it could also be the other side. The wife might be the richer of the two. The wife might make more money, than the husband. And again, men have a lot of ego, particularly when it comes to control of resources. And like one of the books I read years back, is a bad house where the hen crows louder than the cock. Because ordinarily a hen is not meant to crow. It's only the cock that should crow ordinarily. But when the hen is crying louder than the cock, then there'll be a problem. So if the hen is one that has more financial resources, you need a lot of humility. Otherwise, the man will never follow you. Even though the man has a lot of resources, much more than the woman, you also need a lot of humility. Because like the moderator said, the MC said, we have to work together because your money is not your own money alone. It's for the family. So that humility is very important for it to work. Then financial literacy. Both of you must understand the theory of savings, the theory of investments, the value of investing, and the value of savings. Because if you don't, it will never work. So you need to be able to educate your partner on why the culture of savings, the culture of investment, the culture of planning is very important for the success of a family. Next slide, please. Now, what are the tips for the family that we must all follow? You know, in elementary economics, I remember we all did economics in Form 3. They told us first topic in economics is the theory of choice, scale of preference, needs, wants. That was first thing they taught us after the division of economics. I remember the definition there. They said economics is a social science that studies human behavior as a relation between ends and scarce means, which have alternative uses. And they now taught us about wants, our needs, our scale of preference. Every family must have a scale of preference. Every couple must have things that are very important to them. On a monthly basis, you must have things that are fundamental that you want to do. Then you must have a list of what is the income coming to the family. What is the size of a family income? Is it salary? Do you have trade? Do you have something else? You must have a list of the income you make. So that you are not planning to spend what you have not made. My father will always tell me that you have to see the size of a tree before you decide what you're going to use to cut the tree. Is it knife? Is it cutlass? Is it caterpillar? Or your hand? So you must have a list of all your income and your expenses per month. What are the expenses of a typical family? The bills you have to pay. After taking out your tithes and everything, what are the things you have to do? You must know them. It must not be hidden to the couple. You must both sit down together and discuss. What are those things? And you know, if you have done the budget at the beginning of the year, this becomes very easy. Because it's already part of what you have planned to do, and then you can easily look at them. Number 2, you must prioritize essential expenses. School fees, those things are essential. Things that are critical that you must pay. For instance, now we are all on Band A. You know what Band A means to all of us? You have to put money aside for Band A. Even though you don't have 20 hours of electricity, but you are paying Band A. You have to plan for it. That's almost like 5 times what we were paying before. You must plan for it. You know, plan for emergencies. If you have children that are going to school, if you have children that need special needs, all those things you must plan for. Because if you don't plan for them, you will never be happy at home. Track your family's spending. You know, devil is in the detail. Write it. Put it down. What are those expenses? What are we spending money on? In actual fact, it's very important because at the end of the day, at the end of the year, when you are doing your annual review with your wife and children, you must know where all the resources of family has gone into. Let me tell you this. I worked for GT Bank for many years. In GT Bank, we monitor everything. Each person that spends money has a code. So we know who is spending what. And we make every month we have a meeting where you come and explain why did you spend it, why did you spend that. So we track. If organizations can track expenses, who are you as an individual, as a family, not to track your expenses? It is what you track and monitor that you can control. You cannot control what you don't even know. Which was why I gave the example of what I did when I started working. And I had to track my expenses for 3 months. And I saw that my money was going on frivolities. You must track your family expenses. Then you must have a structure to automate savings. I always tell people, don't spend before you save. You must save before you spend. If you have to spend before you save, you never have anything to save. Especially now that inflation is very high and the depreciation has affected the value of your currency. So you must at all times determine a percentage of your income as a family that must go to savings. You must. If you don't, you will never have any savings. And it's very easy. In our elementary economics again, they will tell us that your income is equal to consumption plus savings. Abi? Today you'll find that consumption is even more than income. So if you're not intentional about cutting out a portion to put in savings, you will never save. So you must determine whatever, no matter how small it is, something must go into savings. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. First point there is cut down on unnecessary costs. You know, most of us spend money on impulse. Something happens, somebody just called you, just transfer money. You know, you can transfer money easily if you think that money is only your money. But if you know that that money belongs to the family, you consult before you transfer the money. For me, if I have to answer my wife, somebody in my secondary school has this problem. I want to give the person, because there's nothing to be eaten. I want to give the person money. She won't say no, because in the family expenditure, we have a percentage that we have created for transfer, for donations and sponsorship. And we both must agree on it. You won't believe it, since we got married, money has never been an issue, because we have agreed on what and what to be doing. In actual fact, when we had that our retreat, we decided for social events in your family and in my family, this is how much we should do. We have all agreed. So it's a percentage, and we do it. So not that, when your sister was doing something, you gave him something. He's now my own brother, and you did this. That doesn't occur, because everything had been pre-agreed. So no issues. For transfer to friends, to associates, we have agreed. So no unnecessary spending. Because I must give a report at the end of the month of how I spent the money, and how she has spent the money. So we were able to cut out frivolities. No frivolities will come in. Okay? Use cash for discretionary spending. I learned this from my father when I was much younger. You know, my father has envelopes for various things. He will write at the back of the envelope when he collects his salary. Just divide it and put everything in envelopes. For discretionary spending, that is things that come after you have agreed with your wife, put the cash in separate envelopes so that you don't go and touch other money. At the moment that discretionary envelope is finished, you just stay cool, because you cannot spend what you don't have. So create that envelope for discretionary spending and write them down as you're spending them with, and carry the family along. Set financial goals. We have said it. What do I intend to achieve in 1 year, in 2 years, in 3 years? We must set it out. Look at that next point. Involve the entire family. This is very important. Again, you see a lot of Christian homes producing children that are very unchristianly in behavior. You see a lot of people, the parents are very good, but the children do not reflect the shadows or the figures of the parents. You know why? Because those children were not carried along in all the disciplined life they have lived. So in financial planning, make sure your children form part of it. In actual fact, teach them much more than you even teach your wife or you teach your husband if you are the one that is more financially literate. Because what we are doing is transferring those skills into generations after you. And if you fail to do that, you're going to lose them. And they will not understand what you are doing. They will think daddy or mommy is very stingy. They will not understand what you are doing. Does that make sense? So if you carry them along in the process, they will flow with you, and they might even be better than you in managing finances. Aside in front of the children in the budgeting process, and also in the review process. Why review? So that they can see that daddy is disciplined, mommy is disciplined. What we agreed, when we're doing an annual budget, everybody agreed. And they are behaving well at the review process. Not that daddy said we should spend X, but daddy himself has gone to spend X raised to power 2 or X times 4. Then they say, why are we doing this? So let them see the discipline in the process of what you have done. I'll give another personal example that I have seen that I did. When my first son got into university, he went to University of Cambridge. When he got into Cambridge, I told him, I'll pay the school fees and I'll pay your accommodation, but I will not give you any monthly allowance. My wife fought. How do you want him to survive? You want him to... I said, how did I survive in Ife? My father never gave me money. From the last time I collected money from my parents was age 16. The rest, I worked. She didn't like it, but I said, see, we've been carrying them along on financial planning. He worked the summer holiday before he resumed his school. He made some savings. Let him go and live on that savings first. And when that money finishes, I would know, then I can support him and give him some money. But you know what my son did? He saw that the money he had would not be enough. So he went and quickly first contested to be the director of social in his college. He was in Emmanuel College in Cambridge, University of Cambridge. So the director of social. And in that Emmanuel College, every week they do Thank God It's Friday, something like that. So he would, because he was director of social, they would give him all the contributions. He would go and use his Sainsbury's card to go and buy at Sainsbury and collect points. You know, when you buy, you get points. He will now go back later and use that points to buy his own groceries. Does that make sense? That was how he was running for the first year. So everything he buys, all the points he accumulates, is what he will use to buy things for himself at the end of the week. He started thinking. Secondly, he went and started writing. He became an editor of their journal, one of the journals. They were paying him stipends. You know, if I'd given him money like anyhow, not that I could not afford to give him money, I had more money to give him. But you know, that made him to start thinking. But because he was also exposed to how we've been running our lives, managing our lives, you know, creating savings, creating everything, he saw the reason. So please, when you have enough resources, don't throw it in the face of your children. You are destroying them. Let them be part and parcel of the process of planning and reviewing of what you have done. If you don't do that, you are destroying them. Which is why, again, I'm sorry to say, most children of a very rich don't succeed. And that's why wealth doesn't get transferred into the next generation, because you have ruined them by making everything happen to them so easily. It may be difficult initially, but if you do it well and you are very determined about it, you're helping the children. So that has helped. Now, my wife asked me a question about a week ago. My daughter is about going to the university now. She's now saying, are you going to do the same thing you did for the boys to your daughter? I kept quiet. I won't do it for my daughter. You know, my daughter is my sweetheart. So I have to change strategy. But you see, for the boys, I've taught them the way of being disciplined. Yeah, I will show her some discipline also, but it will be a bit different from what I did for the boys, because of the nature of a girl child versus that of a male child. But this thing worked. Now, my boys are out of university, they are working. 2 days ago, my sons called me. He was talking to me about investments. Like, Dad, I bought these shares. I did this. What do? I was very happy deep down my heart. Because their friends, they will use the money to do stupid things. They will go on vacation. They will live Oyinbo lives. I told them, you are not Oyinbos, so you are Nigerians. So your head must be correct. So you could see that discipline is beginning to get into them. He was telling me, I have these shares. I have this. What should I do? Should I move this? Should I say, go? You just have to make sure you make the children a part of the process so that you can build a future for them. Now, like I said earlier, why do we need to budget as a team? You know, here I did not say only father and mother. With the children, please note. You know, in Yoruba land, they say, Oro ta banche, ta babomode sibe, ta ba kuklo mashele, kuni. Anything you are doing, any cult you are doing, anything you are doing, and you are not allowing your children to follow, your younger ones follow you, when you go, that cult will die, or that fraternity, or that association will die. That's why I'm saying you must carry your children along. You must. It's a must. Now, number one, you could see what I've told you, cooperation. Less issues. Less disagreements. Because you are both agreed on how you're going to run your life. Does that make sense, please? Please stop me if you have any comments or questions. So, both of you have agreed. You have said 3 years plan. You have said 1 year plan. You know where you're going. And you are honest. You are sincere. Like I said, trust is very important. There will be no arguments. There will be no disagreements. And you know what? What you would achieve. Like I said, our 10-year plan we achieve in 3 years plan. In 3 years. You won't believe it. What we thought we live in Ikoyi in 10 years, we started living in Lekki in less than 4 years after. So, you see, a lot will be achieved if you cooperate. Then, number 2, everyone will be willing to make sacrifices. When your children are involved, your wife or your husband is involved in the planning phase, they will make the necessary sacrifice. Because they could see, they could understand what you are talking about. It's not you just, as me, I did not carry my wife along, and I say, don't do this, don't do that. You know, there will be argument, there will be fight. But because we all agreed on what we need to do and how we're going to go about it, there was no basis for controversy. And everybody was making sacrifices as to what must be done to contain cost. I'll tell you one thing that happened yesterday. I was paying my gas and electricity bill in London. And I got a summary of my costs. You know, during winter, costs are generally very high. So costs are started. I saw that my October and November bill has gone up. So I called my son, because they're still living at home. I said, boys, you know what? From January, you're going to start paying all the bills in this house. I don't want living there. I cannot continue to subsidize. You've started working. They said that we only started working this year. I said, this year, 1 year of grace is okay. You are putting your money in investment. Me, I'm paying my money to pay bills for you. January, by the special grace of God, you start paying the bills. Otherwise, you go and rent your own house and go and be independent. That's what I told them 2 days ago. And I said, because you are not paying, when you don't feel the pinch on your body, you don't know how bad it is. Because sometimes when I call them, the light will be on. I said, why is that light on in that place? He said, Dad, it's dark. It's dark. Okay, no problem. Again, because of Internet of Things, we can see from Nigeria what they are using on gas, what they are using on heating, because we have app. I said, come, it's only 2 p.m. Why is the gas on? He said, it's cold. Okay, no problem. I'm sure next year now, when they start paying, all those things will be controlled, which is why the children must be involved in all these activities. Let them feel it. Let them know how important this is. My son called me yesterday. I said, Dad, HSBC reduced interest rates from 1.75 to 1.5. It's so painful. I laughed. I said, that is very good. So you now know what small percentage of savings can be on your income. He called me, said, I got the letter. I also got the letter because I have an account with HSBC also. That they reduced their interest rates. That this is not good though. I laughed. I said, okay, that's good. Because he's now beginning to feel the impact of that on his own well. So everybody will be willing to make a sacrifice if they are involved in the budgeting process. Bigger benefits in teaching the kids about money. I've mentioned that earlier. You must teach your children about money. They must understand what money can do. They should understand how money gets frittered away. They must understand how budgeting and planning is, and how it can help them achieve their objectives. 4, instills good spending and savings habits that will benefit the kids throughout life. Throughout life. I always say it. Some of us, average family, we destroy our children. The way I grew up is not the way they grew up. I grew up in the village where we wake up in the morning, wash clothes, wash plates, clean, sweep the room, house, everything. They are grown up where there is washing machine to wash clothes for them. Sometimes when I wake, I say, come, why are these plates here? They say they're accumulating it so that they can put them in the dishwasher. I say, dishwasher. I'll shake my head. That they can't just put few plates in the dishwasher. I said, why can't you just wash it immediately? So they are totally different. But you see, that discipline, you must continually put it in the air. Because, number one, their world is different from our own world. I always tell people, when I was in school, if we have assignments, we'll go to the library, we'll take textbooks, borrow textbooks, we'll go to encyclopedia, we'll go to this, read, and summarize. But today, as you're giving an assignment, they are typing it on their phone, result is there. So their life is different. They don't have that discipline, they don't have that resilience, they don't have that ability to do a lot of independent study like we did. Just put it on the phone. Even as we are talking, they are checking to say, is that correct? Which I would not have asked where would I get the information to check my father when he was talking? But now, as we are talking, they are checking on their phone. What is he saying? So you must find a way of working with them and grooming them to be part of what you intend to do or what you are trying to do. What I want to say is that it does not happen by magic. Every success you achieve in life is structured, is planned. And that's why financial planning, budgeting as a family becomes very important. Yeah, next please. How do you make it work? Next. Go on please. You must hold monthly family budget meeting. Very important. How much did we spend this month? How much? You see, by the time you do it 2 or 3 times, it becomes a routine and it's fun. What did we spend money on? Okay, your tire got bad. We had to fix it. We didn't plan for it. Something happened there. We had to do it. It makes sense. No problems. But you must have a monthly. Let me tell you this, please. What gets monitored gets executed. Anything you don't monitor does not get executed. So even your financial plan, please, create, even if it's only 1 hour on a Sunday night, what did we do in the month? How well did we perform in the month? In the banking industry, we hold what we call MPR. Every month, you do an MPR. What's MPR? Monthly performance review. Why can't you do a family performance review for yourself? Hold a family budget meeting where the children will form part of the meeting. 2, seek input from children and listen to what they have to say. Please don't underestimate the contribution of the children. Listen to them. They might say what you don't like, but listen and don't shout at them. Don't shut them down. Listen to them. If you don't agree with them, have a respectful discussion about it. But don't shout them down. They have ideas, they have opinions. In actual fact, children of today cannot even shout their down. Though they are in this Sorosuke generation. They have their opinion, they have their views. They will tell you, Dad, that's not the way it is. When I tell my children, I say, Dad, you are old school. That's not the way it is right now. This is it. I remember I was arguing with my son one day. And my son studied biochemistry at Cambridge. So I was talking about sickle cell. And I was telling him what I knew about sickle cell. He argued with me to the last point. And he won the argument anyway because he has more courage. I didn't get angry. I only said I didn't like the way he was arguing. That you should be more respectful in your argument. But he was saying the truth. And he had facts to back it up. So please don't shout them down. Particularly when it comes to money matters. Let them talk. In actual fact, the way they talk will let you know how they are thinking. Does that make sense? Allow them to talk. Listen to them. Okay, I have two sons. My second son, when we go out to eat at a restaurant, he's the one that asks for the most expensive item on the list. 4 of us or 5 of us as a family, we have gone to eat. When you take the bill, he will ask for the most expensive item. So, after I've observed it for a while, and now I started working, I said, okay, you are the one that will pay. So when he's one paying, his bill, his order will not be the most expensive. So you see, I can tell that when it's other people's money, but you just have to find a way of making them responsible. So like I said, listen to them, let them talk, hear them out. Don't shout them down as a family because you are a team. You know, a team that is fighting against each other will fail. Okay? 3, take them along with you when you are shopping. Don't go alone. Go with them. And you see, Yoruba will say, Ogbon omode, ogbon agba, olafidale efe. Don't underestimate the wisdom of a child. I'll give you another personal example. When we were growing up, my mother used to go to the market to buy things. And because she doesn't have cash to pay immediately, they buy against month end when they're going to pay salary so they can pay. They have a customer, they look like a customer. That is woman that normally sells to them. And the customer knows that they're going to pay end of month. So she always increases the rates at which she sells. Is it Kobiowu? That's what we call it, Kobiowu of rice and beans in Osun State then. So one day, my mother, I always follow her to the market because I so much love my mom. And she said she was going to customer. I said, Mommy, why not let us price it somewhere else? Before I said, our customer always give us the best price. I said, Mommy, let's just even try. So we priced, I think it was beans that we were buying, or rice. I can't remember. We priced it. I said, let's just keep the price. We now got to the customer. She was selling to us almost 1.5 times the price. And I said, Mommy, can you see? And Mommy now said, because we are not paying now. I said, you are paying month, which is next month, next 2 weeks or so. Why this magnitude of difference in the price? From that day, my mother stopped buying from that customer. So you see, don't underestimate what children can bring to the table and take them along. They might have an idea. They might have a view. It doesn't mean that you must do what they want, but carry them along. That process, you are training them to be able to plan and to be able to do things better for themselves. Look at that number 4. Give your younger kids an allowance if possible. If you have it, give them an allowance. From that allowance, you monitor what they do. What do they spend money on? Very important. Are they spending their money buying sweets? Are they spending their money buying useless things? You would know. Because at the end of the month, you know, she's going to come and give a report how the money was spent. Give them an allowance. That's financial training you are giving them. Because, and again, make sure that any amount you give them, they also do an NPR with you at the end of the month at home. They must explain. So in that place, you are teaching them how to manage money. You know, you cannot manage what you have not held. By giving them money and helping them and monitoring what they do, you are building discipline in them as they grow old. Go with them to the bank. Let them have an account. For instance, in Optimus Bank, we have an account called Optimus 123 for children. Children can be saving for them and they can be watching it grow. Very important. It helps them to build a discipline, a culture, and they can see their money grow. Even though it might be small money, but that culture of saving, that culture of seeing money grow helps to motivate them to learn how to plan for their life. Then number 5, older kids can contribute to funding expenses of their college funds. Find ways to make them contribute to household financing and financing decisions. I've just given an example of my own family, what we've done. Now, groceries in the house is bought by them. I'm not going to buy groceries for anybody. They buy groceries. Now, the next thing I can do, I'm going to do is all bills now must be paid by them. That is how you get them involved. And what are you doing? You're getting them disciplined for the future. You must make sure they do something. Because if you don't, that money, and you're not helping them. Because, you see, if you have sons and you don't teach them to be responsible, when they marry, there'll be trouble. And unfortunately, most of the men, young boys being brought up by our families these days are not properly brought up. And that's why you see a lot of them misbehaving. That's why you see most of the faults in marriages today are from men. Because the men are badly prepared for family life. Because daddy never taught them the right thing. Mommy never taught them the right thing. They were concentrating on the ladies. So if you have sons, you have double responsibility. You have to teach them to be responsible. Teach them about money. Teach them about basic family values. Because if you don't, you cannot give what you don't have. What you give is a function of what you know or what you have experienced. Very important. Then be a role model as daddy or as mommy. Please be a role model. Be mindful about what you spend your money on. Again, when you know that you're going to come to the house at the end of the month to give a report of what you have spent, you just have to be disciplined. You can't tell them, I spent this on buying. They will ask you, Daddy, why did you buy it? Why? What do you need it for? So if you have that structure in place, we call it checks and balances. Those checks and balances will help you to be very disciplined about what you do. I have that in my family, and I tell you, it has helped me significantly. Nothing is done on impulse. Because I know. I always tell my colleagues also in my office, in Optimus Bank, I always tell them, I will not want to do something that when it gets out into the news, my son asks me, Daddy, why did you do it? What made you do this? And I'll be looking at him. How will I answer my son when I've done something bad? Do you understand what I'm saying? You must create a room where questions can be asked. I'll tell you one experience I had. One day, my sons were in Nigeria, and we went out. Then the road where I normally follow was blocked. So I now took one way, and last man stopped us. So my son asked me, Dad, did you know it was one way? I said, yes. I said, why did you follow it? I felt very stupid. I didn't know what to tell him. He said, Dad, why did you go? Why did you follow one way? I kept quiet. What will I tell him? So I now had to explain, the road was blocked, this and that. Luckily, the last man there saw that truly the road was blocked. He allowed us to go. But my son was looking at me, Dad, you taught us to do things right and do things well. Why did you follow one way? Do you understand? So be a role model because questions will be asked. So what you do at every point in time must be what gives you that status of being, the daddy, the mommy that sets the right tone for every activities in the family. Sustaining a family and family budgeting culture. How do you sustain it? Let me also tell you, most people start it, but they don't sustain it. You must sustain it. It's not a one dose solves all malaria. It's not bobonishe that when you take it once, everything is sorted. You must sustain the culture. And I said, family budget is not chiseled in stone. Sometimes you have made plans, but be flexible about your plans. Things can change. I gave an example, for instance. You budgeted are going to do ABC, but unfortunately, your wife on her way to work lost her tire. She needs to buy a new tire. You say, no. Budget does not, no, that will not work now. That will not work. So flexibility must come into it. Does that make sense? Flexibility must come into it. Because it is your wife today, it can be you tomorrow. So please bring flexibility into it. So that's why I said it's not cast in concrete that you cannot break. You must be flexible about. Just like it must be reasonable and must make sense. 2, review regularly and adjust where needed. Regularly, you must review your budget. I just gave an example. Band-Aid. When we budgeted at the beginning of the year, we did not know Band-Aid was going to come. We were buying electricity at 67 naira. Now they said it's Band-Aid. And that's 4 times or 5 times what we're buying it at. It's now 200 something naira. So I would say, okay, no, because there is Band-Aid, we cannot use electricity again. We're not going to pay. That will kill the family. So you must think about that flexibility and you must review it and adjust it. For instance, medical needs or any other thing that comes up, you must be able to review and adjust for such things. Then have family priorities in mind. There's no sense having a budget that does not take into cognizance the priorities of a family. And priorities change. when those changes occur in the family priorities, you must be flexible enough to bring them into scheme. Which is why I said there must be constant review of what you are doing every month. If you do monthly review, when there is that change in priority, you can immediately reflect it in the budget. It's very important, because if you don't do that, again, when you become too stiff, either as a mother or as a father, you will never make progress. Because people cannot follow a stiff person, so to say. You must be somehow flexible. Reflect the changes in family composition and complexities. For instance, when you cut the budget, there were only yourself, your wife or your husband, and 3 children. Then suddenly something happened, and they brought somebody to come and join you, either from your family or from your wife's family. Food money must increase from the budget. So when there are changes or increased complexity that were not envisaged when the budget was cut, you must please take them into cognizance. Complexity could change, composition will change. Cousins are coming, friends are coming, associates are coming that you never envisaged. You have said, okay, we're going to spend only 500 naira or 5,000 naira for this. But you can realize that things have changed. You must be ready to accommodate them. Then I said number 5, very important, monthly family budget meeting. Even if it is 30 minutes, hold it. It will definitely help in achieving the objective. What we have done, okay, I run a bank. I run a bank called Optimus Bank. Optimus Bank is a national bank, licensed by Central Bank last year. We started operation last year, and we are doing quite well. We are developing a budgeting app that our customers can use to make their life very, very easy. I brought my product manager here, Sami. He's a product manager. For him to see, we are building that app to help you plan, budget, capture your expenses, so that at the end of the month, when you want to do review, it's easier because everything comes out to you through analytics. Because I have realized that it's a very important tool that most people don't have and cannot use. So if you are a customer, you have advantage of using that budgeting app to monitor your expenses, to plan your activities, and to be able to do easy reports to see how much you have spent. Next, please. Next. Next, Oga, next. There are various rules about budgeting. I don't believe in rules, but I will tell you this because theoretically there are rules, but I don't believe in this type of rule. I believe that family budget must reflect the peculiarity of a family. But there are rules. Some says rule 50, 30, 20, rule 75, 15, 10. All sort of rules exist. But I tell you, you must make sure your family budget reflects the complexity, the age, the maturity level of your family, and the nuances of each family. Nuances of family differs. It differs. For instance, you might have a wife, that is high maintenance. She has to do her nails. She has to do this. She has to do all those things. It must be reflected in your budget. You cannot say because she married you, she start looking haggard. Before you married her, she spent so much money doing her nails, doing everything that you must accommodate it in the budget. So you don't have to follow a rule. You must craft your own rule in such a way that must reflect the uniqueness and the peculiarities of your own family. This one says 50, 30, 20. 50 on your needs, 30 on your wants, 20 on your savings. That's the rule. Somebody says 75% on your needs, 15% on investment, 10% on savings. Various rules are all there. But I don't believe in that. You should cut your own rule. And your rule must change to reflect the stage of life that you have. For instance, a young boy, he can say, okay, he's going to save 80% of his income. He doesn't have expenses. I told my sons, what are you spending money on? You must save 90% of your income. But, as they grow older and they start their own family and other things, that rule will change. What I'm saying is that don't go with any hard and fast rule. As a family, we must create our own rules. What portion of our income will go on needs? What portion of our income will go on this? And because you might want to increase a portion, creativity will even start coming onto your brain as a man. What do you need to do to increase your portion of income in this area or your portion of savings in this area? So you don't stay and say, okay, let's say for instance, my salary is 10 million naira per month and I save 2 million every month, for instance. Okay, I want to increase my savings. What else can I do legitimately to give me more money? What can I do? You start thinking. But you see, if you don't have a total understanding of what happens, that creativity will not come into your head. And that's why you must be on top of it. So various rules are there, but honestly, set your own rule because your family uniqueness is different from every other family. Okay? Next. Okay, I think that's all I have to say. That's the last slide. But let me just summarize. Let me summarize what I have to say. Just to encapsulate everything. Success in a family is not a joke. It must be intentional. No family, nothing in this world happens by error. Even if you look at, you go back to Genesis, when God was creating the earth, you know it was intentional. He first of all created sun and coal so that plants can photosynthesize. He created plants before he created animals that will feed on the plants. Before he created man last to dominate everything. If you had created man first, what will he feed on? If you had created animal first, what will they feed on? So everything successful in life is intentional. You must structure things in such a way that success can be achieved. And there are rules of success. There are fundamentals of success. If you see a man that is successful in the village, if he goes to city, the same principles that made him successful in the village will help him succeed in the city. So if somebody failed in Nigeria and he jackpot to Canada, probability of success still is zero. Because certain fundamental must be in you before you can be successful. They'll say, if you don't have it in you, you cannot give it. Am I making sense? So in a family, because it's a couples retreat, everything that happened must be structured, must be planned. Don't think external angels will work your family for you. It doesn't work that way. You must work on it. Which was why I like that the previous mommy presentation. You must be intentional. Money breaks family like no man's business. Money issues is one of the greatest problems in marriage. The moment you cannot agree with your wife or with your husband how you're going to carry out expenditure of the family is already disintegrating. So take into cognizance where your husband is coming from. Take into cognizance where your wife is coming from. Take into cognizance the personality correlates of your children. Create an eclectic structure for all this and work with it to come up with something that will be sustained for the family. It will not happen by itself. You must make an effort. It's like salvation. If you don't go out, you stay where you are and you continue to live in your sin. So that step must be taken to make sure that family structure is planned to manage the finances of the family. And like I said, if you plan well, if you execute well, the execution is a monthly review. Planning is a budgeting phase. What gets monitored gets executed. I'll give an example. In school, until exams timetables are out, students will not be reading. I remember in Ife then, when timetables are out, you see cafeteria, everybody will not start reading. You must create a structure. And the moment people know that they're going to answer to the family, daddy is going to face children, mom is going to face daddy, to explain, you will see that there will be a lot of discipline in the family. Because you will just know that, yes, I must do things right. So, final notes, let us be intentional about our family expenses and income. Let us be a lot more creative. Let us involve everybody so that we can get the cooperation of all that is needed to make the family budget works. And I tell you, if the formula is y equals to a plus bx, and you put in all the variables of that a plus bx, you will get the results. If you put in the right variables in the equation, the result will be constant. So I want to wish you well. I want to pray that God will grant you the wisdom and the strength to be able to effectively come up with a family budget review meeting, and get things done properly. Thank you so much. I'd like to take questions. Questions and comments?
Thank you very much, sir. Please, can you put our hands together for him? I think it deserves a standing ovation. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. And thank you for our daddy and mommy for infusing this into this discussion. I think I've been blessed. Are you blessed too? All right, we'll take some of the questions. Sir, do you want to sit? Having listened to your lecture, I want to conclude that you are more handsome than I am. Yes. So after him, I'm next. All right, the first question here says that how can couples prepare financially for major life changes like children relocation and job loss? How can couple prepare financially for major life changes like children relocation or children, comma, relocation or job loss? Then the next one for okay.
Okay, how can family prepare for major life-changing expenses? Okay, I'll go back again and use my own example. Because I went to school in Ife, and I had the opportunity of going to various countries to see how things are done, I decided before I got married that I was going to send my kids to school abroad. And I knew from day one that sending kids to school abroad is not naira and kobo. I started savings in dollars since 1992. So you can imagine the rate of dollar in 1990 when I started buying. So by the time my kids were going to go to school in England, I had more than enough savings to pay their fees throughout. Does that make sense? That is the essence of planning again. So I knew that this is what I want to do. And while discussing with my wife, that's what everything we discussed at the strategy session that we had. Like I said, everything must be intentional. Underline that words. So for major expenses like that, the moment you know it, a problem that is known is almost half solved. Since you want to do certain things, you must start for it now, not until it happens. So if you know you want to do A, B, C, D, start planning for it before it happens. Because by the time it happens, honestly, it will be too late to start thinking. I'll give you an example. When my family was relocating to England, I was buying dollar. A pound was 230 naira. Do you know what it is today? 2,300. School fees for 1 year is about 50,000 pounds. That's about 130 million naira. Where would you get that today if you have not planned for it years back? Does that make sense? So when you have a plan, don't wait until that thing crystallizes. Start in advance. Yes, it's 2003 today. If you are still planning, you can still save and still continue to save until that thing happens in the future. That's number one. For job losses, I said about emergency the other time. Job loss is an emergency. If you have not planned for it, it will happen like a thief in the night. In actual fact, as a family, you must have in your family account minimum of 6 months savings that can sustain the family in case there is no income. You must. 6 months at the minimum. So please, if you don't have it in your plan now, make sure you have 6 months savings that will sustain the family if there is no income. It's critical. Yes, things are tough. Yes, everything has gone up. Prices are high. But you see, you still must find a way of putting something aside because that inevitability could come. And when it's going to come, it will be like a thief, in the night. Sometimes also tragedy do happens. That could be a tragedy. I'll give an example. There is a couple that I know very well, very close to me. The man was the breadwinner of a family. He was going for an event and he got knocked off by a vehicle and he died. What happens to the family? Where are they going to start from? But because they are a couple that I've mentored for a while, I've discussed things like this with them, they had some good savings. That is what the wife started relying upon before she wasn't working initially, but at least she did not suffer in the first few months before she got the job. So you must always plan for inevitability, for unexpected events that could happen. You don't know what it will be. It could be anything, which is why I said saving for emergency is very important. Like I said, all is a function of planning right from the beginning so that when it happens, you are protected.
Thank you very much, sir. So the next one will be, what should couples consider when deciding whether to have a joint or separate bank accounts?
Okay. Trust is very important in everything. Joint account, whether you have a joint account or you have a separate account, it's not even an issue. It's the trust that exists between both of them. Joint accounts are good because they bring transparency into what everybody is doing. But you see, again, if you don't have it, you cannot give it. Even if you have a joint account, if somebody is in discipline, he will still be in discipline in that joint account. And then the guy will start hiding. So I think it is not the joint account that actually matters. It is the discipline and the mindset that each partner in the relationship brings to the table. That's what is important. However, if you have an expenditure plan in the future, let's say school fees or buying a house somewhere or doing somewhere, you could create an investment account where both of you can be putting money into it. The first thing that is critical is an agreement as to how do we want to run our family. When that agreement is there from the beginning and it's clear how we want to run our family this year, whether you have a joint account or private personal account doesn't really matter any longer. The discipline, the commitment, like I said earlier, the transparency is what matters. I was watching a movie on Showcase, was it 2 days ago or yesterday? There's a family account, and the husband was just going there, taking money from the family account and spending the money. Even though his contribution to the family account or to joint account is very small. The wife puts all the money, but the man was just spending the money. And anytime the wife makes an issue, why did you spend it? He will start shouting. Say, are you controlling me, etc. So what I'm trying to say is that existence of a joint account or family account is not the issue. It is the discipline behind each members of the family that is much more fundamental.
Thank you very much, sir. So what percentage can someone earning 50,000 save as a savings?
Well, you see, to be honest with you, the size of the hand of a rat is what he uses to scratch his face. Does that make sense? No matter the amount of money you earn, if you are not disciplined, you will not save. In actual fact, what you would see is that your expenses grow faster than your income. That's what you would see. If you double the income of people today, it doesn't mean that they will save. It doesn't mean. The discipline is what matters. I agree. 50,000 might not be enough to even run your life. If you cannot run your life, you cannot save. But the discipline must be in you. So that when your salary increases or you make other income or anything happens, you don't blow it the way you blow money anyhow. The important thing is the discipline. I gave you an example of myself. When I was earning 800, when I was earning 4,000 per month, I did not save. I was blowing. So it is not a function of how much money you earn, but how much money you are committed to keep that matters at the end of the day. And if you earn 50,000, you know that you are earning below minimum wage. You must start thinking, what should you do? How can you improve yourself? Because with 50,000, you have nowhere to go. You have not even started living, to be honest. So you must think and think well. What do I need to do? Where do I need to go? How do I enhance my earning capacity? Do I need to get to do something else? Otherwise, you remain poor, to be honest. Because to 50,000 today in Nigeria cannot do anything. That's the truth.
All right, the next question will just be in alignment with your dropping point now. In a drive to increase your incomes, what else can a paid job man do to increase his incomes to meet family increasing expenses?
Okay. First of all, you must identify where is your strength. What are those things that you do without stress that can earn you money? I'll use my own example, personal example again. I love teaching. I love to teach. When I was in the university, I was teaching extramural schools. I was teaching primary school pupils. And that was how I made money to sustain myself. So I teach. When I got to Lagos, I was working in a firm that was paying me good salary. But I knew that I could teach very well. I started teaching in Icon School. I started teaching mathematics. I was teaching in SAFE, somewhere in Surulere. And I was making money. So you have to identify those things that you are good at that can earn you money. So you must look at yourself. Things that will not be illegal. Things that will not be conflicting with your primary responsibility. I was working in an accounting firm. So it wasn't conflicting. I was teaching. And you know the funny thing? Some of the people I taught then in the early 1990s, they are now big men in various companies. So I can call on them now. If I did not go and teach, you earn money. I wasn't teaching them because I wanted to teach, but I needed the money. You understand? I can call them now. Where I come, they will say, yes, sir, yes, sir. They will do things for me. So the benefits of what I did then to make money, you can see it translating to me today. They were American students, 1995, 1996. But they are now general managers, ED, MDs of various companies today, who I can call on. Oga taught me mathematics. I will tell you a really very simple example. One day in my bank, one bank I was working there, EFCC came to arrest. They wanted to arrest the MD, and the MD wasn't around, and I was the next senior person. So I was taken to EFCC. So they took me to two of us to one room, collected our tie, collected our shoes, collected everything, and kept us in one dingy room in Ademola Road. I was wondering, what is going to happen? What did we do? We didn't even know what happened. The other guy that was one of the senior officer. He was calling AIG, DIG. I didn't know any AIG. I didn't know any DIG of police, but I only know GOD. So I called God. I don't know anybody. Oh. My father is in the village. Oh. What will happen to us? And it was a Friday morning. So after like 3 hours in the dingy room where they kept us, they now say, okay, their boss was around. We should come out. You know, when we got to see the boss, he was my student in ICANN class many years ago. So you can see how God answered my own prayer. All the AIG, DIG that my friend was calling, none of them returned his call. So my teaching was what saved us. We will have spent the weekend in that mosquito-infested. And you know, mosquito in EFCC, they are carnivorous mosquitoes. That was what saved us. So you must find out what you can do that makes you happy, that gets you fulfilled. Some people do trading. Something that you do with a passion that can earn you money. You must think about it. Because today, I don't think any salary alone in generality of the people can survive. I did something recently. I was showing my wife. Do you know less than 1% of Nigeria earn up to 200,000 in a month? You can Google it. How many people earn over 200,000 in a month? And what is 200,000 today in Nigerian economy? It's nothing. You can check it out on your phone. Just Google it. What percent of Nigerian earns over 200,000 in a month? Google it and see. You'll be shocked. So if you depend on that salary, that's what is going to take you there, you remain on one spot, to be honest. You must be extremely creative. What can you do? I have a friend. She's a director in one of the ministries. She loves working with her hands. You know, so she does all sort of creative things. What she makes is more than her salary. She's a director in the Ministry of Education. But that doesn't take her anywhere. Unfortunately, her husband was an irresponsible and who ran away, leaving children with her. So what I'm trying to say is that you must think through what you can do that you enjoy doing, a passion that you enjoy doing that will give you some level of income. Because you enjoy it, it will not stress you. Because you enjoy it, it's fun. You understand? But it earns you some good income that you can use to supplement and subsidize your income.
All right, thank you very much, sir. So does your bank have any app for growing school?
For
growing school?
Yeah, definitely. We have app for...
So there's another one that is just close to it. So I just take it.
Okay, add them together.
Yes. Any plan for Parents Teachers Association in this economy?
For Parent Teachers
Association in this economy?
Any plans? I don't understand that question. Any plans for PTA? I don't know. Plans in what sense? Because that
maybe your bank has available loan platform.
No, definitely. We have all sort of facilities that can be taken if you are a customer. The critical thing is that we have to have your salary with us. Because if you are lending money in today's Nigeria without having the domiciliation of a salary, it's as if you have gone into the middle of Atlantic Ocean, short or highs, and you throw the money away because they will not pay. That's the nature today. I was in a meeting about 2 weeks ago in Ogun State, and I was talking to some of the top people there. Our experience, if you lend money to civil servants, they won't pay you. You'll be chasing them around. But if you have domiciliation of your salary with me, with Optimus Bank, definitely we have a lot of... Again, and I told the people we met last week, my father was able to do the little he did because of small loans he was able to collect. If the salary is not much, where accumulation is difficult, you need soft loans to be able to do small capital investment or even small commercial activities, trading, etc. Because by the time you finish saving, the prices have gone up. So if you have access to small loans, it will help, which we do in Optimus Bank. We have all sorts of products from cradle to grave in Optimus Bank that you can invest in or you can come around and participate in. And I believe we are quite conscious of the need of the people, and that has helped us in building the products that we have today in the bank.
All right. So that will be taking the next question from here.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. First of all, I'd like to thank God for your life.
Thank you, sir.
And for the way you approach it, because it begins with God. And secondly, I'd like to praise your Ijesha economics. I think it's very, very sound and it's very, very realistic way of planning. Well, my question is, most of it has been answered. In the kind of country we have now, most of the young people that we are producing now, the reality is that most of them will end up being entrepreneurs. And when you are an entrepreneur in a very rapidly changing economic situation like Nigeria, you take a very small loan. Before you collect the loan from the bank, your entrepreneurship skill has been put to test because the prices of things have gone up by the day. If you go to Agege market now, you price something 70,000 naira. By the time you move down to Mushi, it's already 80,000. And you have a loan that you are working with. How do you expect? Because this thing is dependent on the fact that most young men now and young girls now are not getting married. Not because they don't want to get married, but because they believe they are not earning well to raise a family. So how do they begin to structure themselves in a kind of economy that we have today in Nigeria? That is very important. That's my question.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. In my place, they say you cannot use the dog of yesterday to watch the house of today. Does that make sense, sir? You cannot use a dog that was trained yesteryears to watch a modern house. Because a modern house is very complicated. Many entrances, many doors. So you have to develop a CCTV or something else. Now, the economy is rapidly changing. And things are like this. But number one to say is to say that it will not be like this forever. Tough times never last. Only tough people do. In actual fact, interest rate today, 35, 40%. What business are you going to do with it? You're going to run into losses. So it's not even advisable now to take a loan in a startup business. Startup business must be funded by equity. Friends, families, and associates. Don't ever borrow loan to start a business in this terrain. In an hyperinflationary environment, don't borrow money for anything, for a startup. But if the business is stable and generating revenue, okay, you can borrow money, but make sure that borrowing is for a short term. You must cycle it out quickly. However, I also note in inflationary period, borrowers gain, lenders lose. Because by the time the borrower is going to pay back, the value he's paying back is lower than the value of the money when he borrowed the money. So what you need to do as a young entrepreneur, you must be as dynamic as possible in your pricing. Because if you are not dynamic in your pricing, you will not be able to replace what you have sold. So you must be constantly monitoring the prices of things, monitoring the price of dollar, monitoring everything so that you can continue to reflect it in your price. So don't think because you bought at X, when you're going to buy next time, it will still be X. So make sure as a young person, which is why starting business, again, I will always say, when a young man leaves school or a young woman leaves school, she should not just jump into business. Let her learn under somebody for a while. By learning under somebody for a while, you will see how things are done. No matter how smart a child is, he can never be smarter than his father. That is wisdom. So learn from somebody. In learning process, you will see how prices are modified. You will see how your boss made losses, and that will help you. So number one, tough times will not last. I won't say don't start as an entrepreneur, but if you are starting at this time, you must be very dynamic. You cannot sleep, you cannot rest. Because you understand? That is where we are right now. No, for those that don't understand Yoruba, a bird that is resting on a dangling rope, neither the rope nor the bird will rest. That is where we are today in Nigeria's economy. So you must be as dynamic as possible. Don't say because I've set up a shop, I've set up a business, you go and sit down. By the time you know what's happening, the business will die. You must be constantly looking at what's happening in the market, what's happening in the dollar market, what's happening in the naira market, what's happening in your industry. If you do that, even if you're going to make a loss, it's going to be minimal. Because your knowledge will help you to drive the business. Entrepreneurship is good, but don't start without having an experience. And that's what kills a lot of young people today that believe that they don't want to work for anybody. They just want to leave school. School does not or did not teach you how to run a business. School taught you theories. Theories are different from practical. That is why today, a lot of ICANN chartered accountants cannot even balance a ledger because they only wrote exams. The practice is when you go in there and you learn how to do it. So if you have a child or a young adolescent or a young adult who is saying you want to set up something, please tell him, go and learn the trade somewhere first. Let me see. Otherwise, your capital will be thrown away. So do I answer your question, sir? Very important.
Thank you very much. That will be all, sir.
Thank you.
Please, can you please put our hands together for him once again? This has been an inspiring and educative section taken by Dr. Ademola Odeyemi, the Managing Director and CEO of Optimus Bank. Please, can we put our hands together for him once again? Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, thank you. My notes is filled to the brim. And I also need to let us know that all of the sections that we'll be having today, the 5 copies will be sent to our platform. And I'm sure that will be done today before we depart from this hall. Can we please put our hands together for him once again? Thank you, sir. While he was wrapping up, I did spoke with my dear brother and colleague. I told him that one key thing I'm taking out from this section is intentionality. From all that has been said, if you do not imbibe that spirit of intentionality, there's little or nothing we can achieve. You know, let me go share these 2 things. My wife called me like 4 months ago because in our own home, I am the spender. She's the saver. I can spend anything. My wife can save anything. She called me and she said, call me. In my heart, I'm ready to fake by me again. Matigbo call me. Or Matigbo Solomon, what to fake by me. And she said, can we practice this? Any money you make outside of your salary, you give me 10%. Any money I make outside of my salary, I'll give you 10%. And we were intentional about it. I created an account. She's hearing that for the first time. I created an account for that purpose. The moment she sent in her own 10%, I move it into that account. And I told her, I will not give you 10%. I am the head. I will do more than 10%. And you can imagine that for several times that there is a need in that house, I have always run back to that 10% account to take care of that need. So if we had not been intentional about that heart, because God knows that those needs will come up. And our speaker also spoke about trust, humility. I think we also experience that in our home. What I'm saying now is not strange to Apostle and Evangelist Martins. My wife, she will come home and she will tell me, call me, I have this amount. I'll tell her, save it, take it. I didn't even ask her, what are you doing with it? I know she's a saver. A project came up for us, and it is huge. It involves huge sums of amounts. I am proud to tell you that God executed our project. Help did not come from heaven, no. Help did not come from heaven. But help came from heaven far ahead of the time that we took advantage of. The money that my wife was telling you, I have this money, took 95% of that project. What came out from my pocket is not up to 5%. So, yes, spend that man, thank you. But you can imagine when she comes and says, I have this amount. I say, buy. But God knows ahead of time that need will come. So I feel strongly that this topic as presented to us, if we are intentional about this, like the lecturer said, in 3 years to come, there will be testimonies. 3 years to come, there will be testimonies. So I am giving us this word of intentionality. There's nothing we'll do in life. If that principle of intentionality is not involved, then we are wasting our time. Thank you once again, sir. Please, at this point, permit me to invite my brother to take it over from me, Steve King, as I will be stepping down for the day.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you. Today has been a wonderful day. I'm sure we've learned a lot. But one of the reasons why I came here today is for couples to play. I'm a player. When I mean I'm a player, I don't mean I'm a that I deceive people. What I mean, we're going to be having fun. We're going to play. So for couples, I'm going to call some couples out. And we're going to do something simple. Something very, very simple. But before then, I want to say this. If you are a man here, and you are the one always reminding your wife that you are the head of the house, now money problem. Wait, am I making sense? The Dr. Ademola, you agree with me. I am sure you've never for once reminded your wife that, do you know that I am the head of this house? I'm sure you've never done that. Because there's no money issue. How do I mean? Check a man that comes back from work. The first thing you hear the man say, Mom, do you know I am the head of the house? In my place where I live then, my landlord will always be telling the wife, Mama Chukuma, now me be the head of this house. The wife will look at him and say, if you are the head of the house, I am the neck of the house. After all, without the neck, the head cannot go to and fro. But guess what happened? The day we got to know who the head of the house was when those serious men visited the house. And my landlord has 2 grown-up sons. So when those armed men visited them with their weapon, who is the head of this house? I was shocked. My landlord with the 2 grown-up sons, with the wife, they were all shaking. I said, who be the head of the house? By the moment they cocked their gun, my landlord now tapped the wife. Mama Chukuma, they ask of you. So if you are a man, you don't need to remind your wife who you are. Now, observe this. The kind of amount you give to your wife as a man determine the names your wife will call you. Somebody say yes. If you give your wife 1,000 naira, she calls you by your name. Let me use myself. She will call me Steven. Peradventure, I increase the money to 20,000 naira. She will have the title, Mr. Steven. Then I increase the money to 50,000 naira. She will call me Steve. If I increase the money to 100,000, whether you like it or not, my name will change. You will hear my love, baby. Then if I increase the money to 200,000, she will look at me and say, our daddy. But eventually, for the first time, maybe I now gave her a sum of 1 million naira. Oh my God. That day, just watch, my wife will need her. And the next thing you will hear is, my God and my Savior. Okay, now what I want to do now is a simple thing. I'm just going to call a few couples out. And what I want you to do is simple. You're going to call yourself names. Sweet